Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Quantum Compass. And as always, my name is David. I'll be one of your co-hosts for today's journey. And
Bella, welcome back.
today we are going to be focusing on the new incoming Wavespell of the White Magnetic Dog and looking at various coordination points, navigation points, you can say, during these next 13 days of this Wavespell, because this Wavespell includes a Pakal clear day or Quetzalcoatl day, as they're called. It also has a new moon partial solar eclipse and its equinox or Mabon. So there's quite a bit to look at in this Wavespell, right, Bella?
Yes, I think the energy is accelerating, and we're also going to touch briefly on the convergence of timelines and on Atlas, three-eye Atlas, because it's all part of the same. We have accelerated the pace now.
Right, so on that note, if you haven't managed to catch the deep dive that Bella put together on Free Eye Atlas and the Golden Convergence of Timelines that is incoming for October the 15th, I highly recommend that you do catch that. There's a lot of really juicy information in there, and we followed that up with our brand new series, Timeline to Convergence, where we got to meet two fellow exponents of the 1320 calendar, two wonderful fellas called Mikua and Ruben. And we had a really good time talking to them, right, Bella, and putting some more pieces into the puzzle as part of a six-part series, taking us up to the convergence point. So please do check that out as well. And please do check out their podcast. The Galactic Spin felt like kindred brothers when we did that show, right?
Yes, it felt really comfortable, really fun.
Yeah, the galactic spin meets the quantum compass. There are more of us now out there connecting, collaborating, bringing this information through. And the reason that we're doing this at this time and really amping the energy is because we think it's this important. We are in the middle of a paradigm changing reality shift. And I'm sure some of you are feeling it out there in different ways. And of course, even those that maybe not so awakened to all of this information, I'm sure are also feeling it in their ways too, judging from some of the Gogglebox narratives over the last few days. So this is a very heightened energetic moment. There's a lot of activation out there, people protesting in many countries about many different things. And that's somewhat a mark of this moon that we're in, right, Bella, this challenge moon.
Yes, the chaos and turbulence are marks of the end of a cycle, but there is also a beginning. And we do know that we have accelerated the point of ascension to 5D, and this process is carried out in waves. So there will be waves of people that will start accessing this new vibration. Many of you watching us probably are already there and will be in charge of pioneering this process and also making sure that there is a second and third and fourth and fifth wave. So I think things are just about to get started, and the process of this wave spell is to bring us back into our heart. We'll need to be in our heart when we see all of the different chaos going on out there.
Right, and if you just stop to think about it for a second, for those of our audience and maybe new people watching this, all of us, I think, are on the understanding that we need to go through this kind of societal structural shift. It's easy to say these things, but if you actually stop and meditate on them, you'll realize it's quite a complicated process and there are many aspects to it. And here at QPW, we've been focusing on the repairing of the universal timeline and all of the fragmented pieces that we understand happened in our so-called distant past, maybe in Atlantis, the Atlantean timeline tsunami, so to speak. But that is all now coming to a point of convergence. And as it does, the old 1260 Gregorian Julian calendar is going to be shown to be not really as beneficial to us as we've been told that it has been most of our lives. And in fact, the last couple of millennia, and we've deep dived into this quite a bit. But also with that has paralleled our exploration into the Western tropical astrology, which we have used ourselves and talked about here on this show. But we're also realizing now that perhaps it's making us put intentions into a future timeline that we're not really in control of. And the more that we've looked at it, the more we can see that the Western astrology is linked to the 1260 calendar, which is why when we look back in the past for key markers for things that have happened, we always see them because that's actually the way that it was planned. So of course it's going to follow that pattern, which actually helps us to believe these things. But when we look in the sky above us, we see that it's not quite the same story, a bit like with the time scale that we've been given. And it seems more and more that we look at it, the more the two things are interlinked as part of the overlay that has kept us somewhat enslaved, perhaps, and a little bit dumbed down. But with this shift in time and the shift in astrology, we feel like we're moving back to a more true orientation to the cosmos.
Well, in fact, I think that's what 3i Atlas has come to
Yeah.
do, to make us look up and see what is happening, because we need that realignment with the true sky. So I think it's going to show us, well, it is now in Libra. It's not where Western astrology is going to tell you it is. It has already moved through Scorpio, Libra, and is about to enter Virgo, where lots of things are going to happen. And it's so symbolic because Virgo is a huge constellation in the sky, and in sidereal or constellational astrology, it is given that relevance of the size, of the magnitude that it has. And I think is where all of this prophetic change is going to happen in the next few months.
Yeah, definitely recommending everyone to do a bit of a deep dive themselves with different threads of information, whether it's ours, whether it's people like our brother Stefan sharing information through his channel or some of the other channels out there, or even maybe just to take a look at the source for this information. You know, there was a video out the other day with, I think, Avi Loeb on it saying that the closest that Atlas 3i can get to Mars and the Sun is 0 kilometers, which is interesting. So basically, it's going to pass very, 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 very close to all of these things, which is in.
So I have some units to show
Yeah,
you.
but having seen some of the other videos, and this is why it's worth just pausing yourself to contemplate, all of these different coordinates, because there is reports that the size of Atlas in its entirety with its cloud amounts to about half the size of the diameter of the sun. So that also is an interesting fact. So what we make of all of these is up to us. We're tracking it in our own various ways and sharing that information with you, just to help put it in your viewfinder and to empower yourself with as much information as possible, the same as we're trying to do. And I think many millions of other people out there wondering what's going on.
You know what I think Atlas is doing for us now, besides making us look at the sky and realigning to true astrology, is making us see from a scientific point of view and from the spiritual point of view, and even the ancient wisdom. So we're putting everything together, and this is the moment I think we need to be paying attention.
So, with that in mind, we'll get into today's presentation and talk you through it.
So this Wavespell we're covering is from September the 10th through September the 22nd. Is the white magnetic dog. And when we talk about this energy, is going to be about going into our hearts, being into unconditional love, loyalty, family, friends. So I think this is the energy we're going to start building up to so that we can go through the process in October. So this is also the resonance seed year. This is the energy, the year bearer energy, and a year we know in this calendar or galactic calendar, however we want to call it, is it goes from 26th of July through the 24th of July of next year. And this energy of the resonance seed is inviting us to tap into that potential that we have within, to self-germination, to activate our, many of you are stellar seeds, cosmic seeds, and this is inviting you to tap into all of that potential with your ideas, with your art, with your passion. And what do you see for the new world? What do you see for the generation, for our children? This is everything that we came to do. What are the seeds you're going to leave for the world?
Right.
So we are going to be going from the second moon into the third moon. This wave spell is going to bridge these 2 moons. So we've been talking about the second moon, the lunar moon of challenge, of obstacles. If things have been coming up for you in relationships or anywhere, it is the time to look at things. Maybe there have been some conflict around you, and it is here for us to polish, to finish this process of difficulty. What is it that needs our attention so we can release it and transmute it? So we'll be going from moon 2 into moon 3, the electric moon.
Right, so this is the lunar moon of challenge with the Scorpion energy, and we've talked about this before. The Scorpion is very synonymous, really, with the energy of Scorpio, death and rebirth, transformation, alchemy, but also shadow, perhaps coming to the surface to cause polarization, division, all of the lower notes of Scorpio also apply here: control, manipulation, or perhaps not you personally, but maybe being directed at you from the system. These are old modus operandi that we've all learnt about over the last 4 or 5 years and educated ourselves since 2020
Mhm.
into the ways and means of the old system, so that we can educate ourselves to help shift it to a new system.
Right. So with the lunar moon, we are dealing with challenge, with polarity, but the idea is to transcend that and to go into a point of stability. Imagine 2 points. When you bring a third, then you create like a triangle, and that electric energy is like the result of that. So wherever you see yourself getting polarized, try to find a neutral point or another perspective, another point of view, because the Scorpio polarizes that challenge. So we're here going through the second into the third moon, which would be the electric moon of service. With the totem, the animal totem is going to be the deer. And I'm not going to expand into the deer just yet because we're still going to be very much into the energy of
Yeah, hold on, I just want to allude to something here. So maybe some of you have been catching some of the other videos that we've been putting out on YouTube over the last 6 weeks or so. Myself and Leslie Shankman from Stellar Nations Pathway have been putting out a different chapter relating the 13 different nations to each of the 13 different moons that are listed here. And this is actually part of a much bigger offering, which we've called the Legend of Turtle Island of 13 Moon Almanac to Life as a New Earth Pioneer. And what we're really doing is looking at the correspondences of the 13 different tones in relation to the 13 moons, the 13 signs of the true sidereal constellational astrology, and quite a few other related aspects. And it's really our way of trying to cement and solidify as much collective consciousness into these different energies so that we can work with them moving forwards. And I think there's a lot of reason why we need to do that during this lunar moon.
Yeah, many of you are more into the stellar nations and galactic mythology, so that will be more helpful. Every one of us will approach all of this process from whatever you feel more comfortable or that you resonate more with. So with this lunar moon, we've been talking about how the need for transformation, the need to be courageous, to have determination and resilience. And this is going to be still the case for a few more days up to September the 16th, I think, right?
Yes,
The
I believe so.
19th,
Yeah.
September 19th is here, right? So again, still with the questions, what are your challenges? What are your obstacles? What is coming up for you? Is it anything emotional or in relationships or to do with your work? Or where are the challenges being presented now? Remember, we just started a moon, which is 13 whole moons, a whole process of a year where you can magnetize the ideas, put it together. Now we're in the challenges, and then we'll go into the next part of the process, which is bringing the charge, the electricity to move forward with these ideas.
And as we'll come to see in a little bit with the astrology, we are now in an eclipse window. We had our full moon lunar eclipse yesterday. So we're in this 2 week window, which pretty much this Wavespell is going to cover. And of course, on the 22nd, we have the autumnal Libra equinox. So we've got a little window here where these energies are likely to come up strongly in this eclipse window. So,
We'll talk more
yeah.
about in the astrology part. So the totem for the third moon is the deer, and with the deer, if we look at Celtic mythology, the deers were viewed as guides to the other world, symbolizing spiritual journeys. In Christianity, they also represent the Christ-like or the Christ consciousness qualities, such as being humility and grace. And in Native American traditions, the deer symbolizes sensitivity, intuition, and protection. So we want to tap into this energy, start calling it in, because we're going to need to get out of this very scorpionic transmutation energy into something that is more about gentleness, intuition, adaptability, balance, and spiritual guidance. We're going to need it because it's during this moon that is coming up from September 20th to October 17th that we're going to go through the convergence of timelines. So we want to start calling this totem in to help us get this process through.
Right, and for all of the medicine brothers and sisters out there who've worked with the very sacred cactus peyote, this medicine is very much linked to the deer in the Huicholi culture of Mexico, where the blue deer is seen as the purest emanation of actually of service and of the heart. So it seems very, very appropriate that the deer are coming in, and we actually have deer wandering around here. They come into our garden late at night, so we see them every day, which is kind of a blessing.
Yeah, it is. They're beautiful. Although they eat your
Yeah,
plants.
they do have a tendency to nibble on my medicine patch, which is slightly frustrating, but anyway.
So so we talked about the moons. We'll be going from the second to the third. Now let's go into the sacred round or soul kin. You can see here highlighted the glyph of the white dog. Also within the castles is within this yellow castle that we're going to have the convergence of timelines. So if you can see here, we're only a couple of wave spells away from that. In fact, it's this one, another one, and then the whole wave spell of the warrior is when we go through the convergence. So I'm really like trying to highlight this now for all of us to be paying attention. We are just within days of a big process for the planet.
And just to remember that the yellow castle is the castle of ripening, of things coming to fruition, culmination, which is really interesting with this convergence coming up.
Mm-hmm. So here we see highlighted the wave spell starting with kin 170 and down to kin 182. We'll have two galactic activation portals on kin 173 and 176. And in fact, kin 176 is a Bacalbotan day, which we'll have a look at in a minute.
The chances of that.
Right. And also here highlighted in gold is the golden convergence of timelines happening on kin 204 and into kin 205. So this is really close if you see this on the soul kin map.
And if any of you out there in the audience happen to have kin 204 or 205, please do say hello in the chat box. And just a little plug, please always do hit like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. And please feel free to share with others, as we want the information to get out there to be heard by as many people as possible.
Right, so this is the wave spell of the white dog. Here in yellow, I've highlighted the Bacalbotan day. It's a resonant warrior day. So this energy is inviting us to going back into our heart, reconnecting with loyalty, with the heart connection, with our spiritual guides, with unconditional love, with acceptance, first of ourselves and where we are at, and then of whatever is happening around us and the people around us, of course, being honest, transparency, connection and relationships. Maybe this is the moment you want to start reaching out. One of the things I wanted to do as we started these 13 moons was to connect out with other people that have been doing this maybe for much longer than we have. And it's happened. So I just friended lots of people that have been doing the calendar. And we had an amazing interview and connection with the harmonic factor. And like that, I feel that many more people will start connecting to those groups and to something that is closer to your heart, to your passion, and even to your mission.
Yeah, this whole timeline to convergence piece is really bringing in a number of threads. Yes, it's bringing in the 1320 calendar and working out how to work with the different layers, as the brother Ruben was showing us the other day, but it also brings in magic and mystery from archaeology, from studying sacred sites. It includes time travel and how do you manage to actually be in two places at once and experience something that your soul has been experiencing through working with the calendars. That's the beautiful thing about what the high Mayan gave us and gave our ancestors. They gave us this technology which enabled us to see into the past and the future really, really clearly. And the more that we've been doing that, the more that we can see series of patterns and loops, which is backed up by the maths and the science. So it's really, really interesting. The deeper we go into this, the more precise and encrypted it seems to become, which is kind of confidence building, because this is a system that we understand is the universal way to navigate through the cosmos. So it feels important.
Get through the cosmos. This is the process of evolution for us to become these cosmic humans, to reconnect our telepathy, our psychic skills. We need to understand the process of time, which is of the fourth dimension. That's what we need to work with our emotions, with our mind, with releasing the beliefs that are limiting us to tap into the full potential of the galactic beings that we are. So back to this wave spell, we also have some shadow that we can review over this period of time, and it has to do with bringing unresolved wounds to relationships. It is for a reason that they come back to review what is happening there. Are we all still on the same page? What needs healing? It could also bring the being stuck in pain. You still have a wound. It could be a core wound or a childhood wound that you haven't released, and it keeps on playing up and it keeps on boycotting you moving forward. Issues of possessiveness, jealousy, emotional drama, and feeling unsupported. If any of these things are coming up for you, do pay attention to them and put the intention of transformation. So you recognize those blockages, you do self-love, you can do Ho'oponopono, you can do meditations, you can do bio-decoding, but more than anything, it's about being compassionate and tolerant, and first with yourself and then with the other people as well, and wanting to free yourself and your life from any drama, unnecessary drama. Healing the root cause is absolutely key. This is a lot of what I do in the biodecoding sessions. We go to the root cause of what is the program or the issue that has been boycotting you maybe throughout your whole life. And as I said before, this is the moment to reconnect with our higher self, with our guides, and with our guardians. So this beautiful energy is supporting us now with the action, which is loving, the essence, which is loyalty, and the power of heart.
Right. So just casting the eye over the way spell itself, of course, we can see here very clearly that the four corners of this castle, or this way spell really in this castle, are being held by the white glyph of refinement and precision. So with a lot of what Bella just shared, you may find some inner saboteur stuff coming up, things that you hadn't really integrated that are actually causing you personally some issues. And that really, to me, would be reflected by the glyph of the mirror, which is on the intentional day. But we also have the self-existing wizard on day 4. So that's a really, really good glyph to create your structure.
Stay fight there.
Sorry, day 5. So that's the radiance point. So that's a really good energy to radiate out in the middle sort of part of this wave spell. And then we finish also with the wind. So you can really slip into working with the energy of refinement throughout this wave spell and really empower yourself by making it work for you, because all of these things are going to be important if, as we perhaps perceive, we are going to be in some challenging energy for the next couple of weeks between these eclipses, and maybe stuff is going to be reflected back to you as part of the polarization. You know, that's actually a good thing. You want stuff to be reflected back to you where you are polarized, so that you can then alchemize it and turn it into more heart energy, which can then be shared and radiated out with the quality of the wizard, which is really bringing magic into play and enchantment. So really powerful way spell, I think, Bella, for this moment. And of course, we have the Pakal Vatande in the middle of this, which speaks of really needing to step up and attune to the warrior, the spiritual warrior who has the heart, but is also fearless. And somewhat with the question mark there in the middle of that glyph is asking us to question and use our intelligence and look into things.
That have a strategy,
Yeah.
have a plan. Because if things, as we believe, as we sense, that are going to accelerate and many things will collapse, what is your plan? Are you in your heart? Trust the universe for sure, but do have a plan when things start getting a little convoluted. And I say that because the manifestation is with the storm during this wave spell. So there could be a storm brewing for the collective, and we need to be in our hearts and be able to switch into the next moon. So this storm happens also during this moon of challenge and obstacles. So it tells me that it's going to catalyze, do a final push before we move into the third moon of service. So here we have, I've highlighted here the Kin 176, which is this resonant warrior. The energy of Pakal Votan is going to be infused there with the galactic activation portal. So it's a day to be paying attention, to attune yourself to your spiritual warrior self. And then we'll have 3 more days to go that will happen in October and November. So anything else you want to add there about
No,
the
just really, again, just emphasizing what we just shared. You know, this wave spell of the dog is really about the heart, and with the challenging energy that we can already feel in the collective, and all of the coordinates seem to indicate this is a moment to be the warrior in the heart. But as Bella said, be in your strategy, be prepared, be grounded, be centered, be aware of the polarizing energies, and if you do feel yourself getting triggered by a disagreement with somebody or a situation that is bringing you into a sort of a head-to-head.
Sorry, or even where you are at.
Yeah.
Do you feel comfortable and do you feel safe where you're at? Do you have a plan of action even?
Right, and as we just said, there are many, many protests going on across the planet at the moment, which is an embodiment really of people having differences of opinion. And sometimes protests are good, but invariably, as even this weekend has shown, they often end up with people clashing, and it doesn't really seem like it resolves anything, just creates more division. So just be really, really aware of all of these MOs that are at play in this mix right now, and just make sensible strategic decisions about where you're putting your energy.
Use your intelligence.
Use your intelligence, yeah.
Got 4 more Pakal Votan days coming up. We'll keep on following. So this wave spell has one of them on Kin 176. And here, just a reminder, a brief reminder of the golden convergence of timelines. It's coming up on October 14th and 15th. We did a whole video about it. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you to. It has a lot of information on the why and how we're coming to this point. And we feel it will be remembered as the moment the people inherited the earth. It will be a big moment for humanity, and we hope you're all paying attention to that moment.
Just pop back there a second, Bella. I just want to, on the next slide, just want to. So the Kin 220, the Gap Crystal Sun, curiously, is around the same time that Three Eye Atlas passes closest to the Sun.
Yeah, that's mentioned in the
Yeah,
video.
so interesting that it's also the sun glyph that is part of the sequence of the Quetzalcoatl prophecy glyph. So not sure what it means, but it definitely seems significant.
So I also wanted to see here, to show here, this is the ancient count, the long count, and we see here that on October 14 of 2025, the clock resets to 1313, where we're going to be on Baktun 13, then Katun, 0 Katun, 13 Tun, Zero Winal, and in the Solkin is going to be for Ahau, or the self-existing sun. So the self-existing sun glyph is super key in this process. We talked a little bit about that with Ruben from the harmonic factor. But here you can follow and see how many things are coming into convergence. This ancient Mayan count, the galactic count that we're following, and the Gregorian count. So just a reminder, and we'll mention it again in the next wave spell, because I think it's important that we all know what's coming and what's happening.
And I think it's fascinating. This happens on for our self-existing sun, and then we have the prophecy day just really a couple of weeks later, which is the crystal sun. And we've been saying that the sun is the major conductor in a lot of this, and how it's going to play out is still unclear, I think, to some degree for everybody. But the sun does seem to be very much involved, and that's actually backed up by the sun glyph, as we've already shared at previous points over last year in the 1320 calendar, because it always seems to crop up on significant days.
Yeah, and on the video, I mentioned the relevance of Three Eye Atlas, the proximity at the times, because it entered in July into our awareness, which is when we started this 13 moon calendar. Then in October, as you said, it's going to be really close to the sun on the 29th, 30th of October, and then it comes really close to the Earth around the 18th of December. So it feels like it's come. I wanted to mention, talking about Atlas. Let's just do a little brief analysis of what's going on. So, from the scientific results, they tell us that there is a huge amount of carbon dioxide, very little water. Some people are saying huge amounts of nickel also being released from it. But more than anything, I want us to tune in into the symbolism, the prophetic moment that we are entering thanks to this sign in the sky. So this one on the top left is the one of the most recent releases of the pictures from the telescopes. And this is the journey I wanted you guys to have a look. So there is a 0.02% chance of this comet, let's call it, to have come and join the ecliptic trajectory. So the chances are minimum that it would come from anywhere out of the solar system and then just follow our ecliptic trajectory. That in itself tells us that there is a higher consciousness, there is a higher meaning to or even a higher purpose to what this is doing here now. So here we see the times during the Wavespell is going to be leaving Libra and entering the area of Virgo. And as you can see, Virgo is a huge constellation. It has over 1,000 different black holes and other spots. So it is a massive constellation. And besides, Virgo is the representation of the great goddess, of the mother energy, of the womb energy. And we'll show you how this is the place where many things are going to happen during this process.
I also just want to point out a couple of things here that I've just noticed. So, as this passes through the sign of Virgo on the 23rd of October, it comes very close to an important star speaker, which I think we're going to be covering.
I will be talking about it,
Yeah,
yeah.
but more importantly, if we follow it on to the end of the year, by my calculations, it seems to come very close to the star Regulus, probably around Christmas Day, the return of the sun. So Regulus is very much connected to the solar beings, to the Leonine energy. So there's something I think there also to consider that maybe that's the culmination of this journey. Maybe the sun is going to do something. There's a lot of speculation out there about the sun and its true nature as we perceive it in the sky. Not for today's show, but maybe at some other point. But we are very much now in a time where everything is being questioned, the veracity of the information that we're being given, even if because we can't necessarily verify it all ourselves, but it's important to do this with everything that comes to us.
So look at the trajectory, how close it gets to Mars, to Venus, to Earth, not so much. This is the distance. And then to Jupiter is going to be really, really close. I'd say Mars and Jupiter are the closest. And I put some measures on like astronomical units, how close it's going to get to us. Do you want to get back to the presentation? So here we are. This is the trajectory. A lot of time spent in Virgo, then in Regulus, and then it starts exiting. Here's Cancer, and here's Gemini. So with this Atlas journey, we can see that in September, just after the eclipse and during the time of the equinox, is when it enters Virgo. Then it's going to be conjunct Mars exactly on October the 3rd. And look at the astronomical units. It's really close, 0.19. That is the closest that is supposedly going to get to a planet, according to the current calculations, because it keeps on changing. So we'll see.
Well, this is what I was alluding to earlier. You know, depending on which source of information you listen to, you can have quite a different picture of the actual constitution of the comet and its size. So it's good to take a pulse across the board and arrive at something that feels right for you. We're trying to give more of the energetics and the trajectory of it rather than the actual makeup of it. But there is something very interesting in the makeup too, as I think we're all going to find out between now and the end of the year.
And then it is going to be closest to the sun in perihelion at around 29th, 30th of October. And this is the astronomical units, 1.36 from the sun. but it's also going to spark the energy of Spica, and I'll talk a little bit about Spica in a minute. In November is going to be really close, on my birthday, is going to be really close to Venus, 0.65 astronomical units, and also with the energy of Spica. See where I was saying that Virgo and Spica are going to be the protagonists of this process of activation.
Yeah.
It's like a cosmic activation that happens on the constellation of the mother of the sacred feminine. So it's going to be visible again on the 3rd through the 7th of December when it's in Leo, very close to Regulus again. So many things happening around that part of the sky. And then in closest to Earth, December 16th through the 19th, coming as close as 1.8 astronomical units. That's not too close, so nothing to worry about, I don't think. But we will get some of those maybe codes, memories, maybe some energetic downloads because of the proximity. I think many people are already connecting to that.
Yeah, I mean, just to share from a personal point of view, as the comet passes close to the sun, I feel that it's going to be activated by the universal fire of the sun, maybe lighting up genetic material, DNA codes, stardust, however you want to look at it. And as it comes by Earth, maybe some of that is going to be infused onto the planet and help with the ascension process. But we'll have to see. I think we're all kind of excited on the one hand, and also somewhat we're in the unknown with this.
This is the sky, but the date here is in October the 1st. I'm showing it just to see. This is the ecliptic, the red line. Here is Regulus. Venus is in Leo at that time. The sun is going to be here in Virgo. I'll talk about which stars get activated. Mercury is really close to Spica again, and Spica is an 8-dimensional world, an 8-dimensional star, which is the cradle of angelic beings and healers of destiny. So this is part of the prophetic part that we're going to be experiencing between now and October, even into December time, that all of the realms and all of the different beings that support our evolutionary process are here to see that we fulfill the destiny. Because what happens in the galaxy and even the universe depends on us going through this process aware and with free will, making sure we realign what we are doing here. That's why we've got so many eyes from different places on us. And look at my draw of Atlas. It's not bad, is it?
You drew that.
I drew this one.
Wow.
So just to show it's going to be really close to Mars in Virgo while we are around this time, October the 1st.
Alrighty, so pulled together, now that we have the correct software, we're actually able to track these things a little bit more precisely with the 13 sign sidereal astronomical constellation and astrology. So I've just listed here some of the major points that are coming in, which we'll explore a little bit in more detail. But here we can see we have the Mercury cazimi, which is important, and we'll cover in more detail in a second. That's on September the 13th, day 4. Then we have the Pakal Vatande, as we've already talked about, on day 7, which also has some interesting transits there. Venus in Leo is trining Chiron in Pisces, and Venus's friend and sometimes lover Mars in Virgo is opposing Chiron. So there's an interesting dynamic there between Venus and Mars, masculine and feminine, and Chiron, the healer, who's in Pisces. So I think that's worth exploring a bit more. I'm going to look at all of the Mercury transits in a second, because Mercury's off on his information sharing and collecting journeys again. And of course, on the 20th, as we've already said, is the start of the electric deer moon. And then on September the 21st, it's the new moon solar eclipse. But we actually have a black moon Lilith flashpoint. Remember, of course, the true black moon and the mean black moon Lilith, they come together sometimes about twice a month. They are really just a fixed point of awareness rather than an actual object. But what we've realized is that these also offer conjoining portal points, intention points, Usually with the full moons and new moons, so we can, especially when they're eclipses and they're being somewhat hidden or eclipsed, the energy of them, we can sometimes use these black moon Lilith flashpoints to circumnavigate the sort of 6 month knock-on effect that the eclipses give us with certain moons, both full and new. And then, of course, on the last day of this way spell, we have what traditionally has been called the Libra equinox. Here in the northern hemisphere, it's the autumnal equinox, but is also Mabon in the Celtic world. And we'll just have a brief look at that because that's also an interesting energy to bring into the mix. So that's the overview, really, of the way spell from the astrology point of view. We have here some interesting movements from Mercury, the messenger. I always like to pay attention to who Mercury goes to visit in these way spells because he is collecting information and sharing it both for us to receive, but also between the planets themselves. He's very much the go-between, and he's getting combusted. I think it happens 3 times a year, and it's happening here on day 4. And this is the chart for that. So we can see over here on the left, Mercury at 36 degrees of Leo. So this is the 13 signs sidereal astrology, and we can see it is, of course, laid out a little differently, but essentially a cazimi is still a cazimi. It's still happening. It's just in a different constellation.
Get those charts. Now Athen has released his new software for 13 sign sidereal astrology. If you guys are interested, that you can go to Mastering the Zodiac.
Mastering the Zodiac, yes. Maybe we'll see if we can put the link in the notes below. Really, really helpful. It certainly helped me a lot not having to do all of this by paper. We still can't show the asteroids, some of the smaller ones, but we're actually concentrating really on what we have here anyway. So on day 3, September the 12th, Mercury in Leo, sextiles Black Moon Lilith in Libra and Jupiter in Gemini. So we can see Black Moon Lilith down here towards the bottom, and then Jupiter up there in the sort of northwesterly part of the wheel. So Mercury is picking up in a harmonious transit both information from Jupiter in Gemini and Black Moon Lilith in Libra. So to me, that suggests that we're wanting to bring through the energy of balance. In Libra, the Black Moon Lilith is able to harmonize some of those polarizing qualities, maybe that the lunar moon is giving us. And of course, Jupiter there in Gemini is bringing in the expansion of perhaps polarization or looking at things in 2 ways. So I really think that this particular day with this transit from Mercury to those 2 is asking us to see any potential polarizations coming up so that they don't expand into something bigger than they need to be. And of course, Lilith still somewhat perhaps on a healing mission over the last couple of months as she gets fully restored in herself back to her true goddess healer status.
So I think what connects this as well to the wave spell is the fact that Venus is in Leo. Venus being love and beauty and relationships, and Leo being about the heart. So that is a really good energy to support us, and it kind of correlates to the wave spell of the white dog.
Right, and of course, on day 4, Mercury actually enters the constellation of Virgo. And as you can see here, the constellation of Virgo in this system is quite a bit bigger than some of the other signs due to the size of the constellation of Virgo itself. So there is a shift there with the energies from Leo to Virgo, and Mercury will be transiting through Virgo probably much the same time as Atlas 3i, which is also interesting. Then on day 8, day of integration in the way spell, integrating this way spell we're currently in of the red earth. Mercury in Virgo now will be opposing Saturn in Pisces.
So this chart is from what day?
So this is the day of the cazimi. So yeah, so this is taken from, well, you can see here the cazimi is here. This is day 4, Mercury cazimi in Leo.
13th of September.
13th of, so another nice synchronicity with the 13 there, and that's happening over here on this part of the chart. But we can also see, as I've mentioned before, the sun is still very much in play with the nodes, and here it's conjuncting the south node. So maybe Mercury is going to be bringing messages with the sun from the past, maybe things that we haven't tidied up, maybe karmic patterns that still need to be looked at, maybe the source of the polarizations and triggering could also be coming from the past, things that we haven't resolved, perhaps within ourselves, or that we maybe people feel they haven't resolved with us also. Then towards the end of the way spell on September the 18th, Mercury again still in Virgo is opposing Neptune in Pisces, but also trines Uranus in Taurus. So we'll have to see how all of this plays out. But I think Mercury and Virgo opposing Neptune, somewhat exalted in Pisces, feels actually, I like Neptune in Pisces. It feels very at home. And even though it's an opposition, I feel that it could be bringing something to the surface where the elastic needs to snap. I often feel that's what an opposition does. You're at full maximum tension and something needs to give in order for that tension to be released. So, not necessarily a bad thing, just perhaps a tension point to be aware of. But it's also being offset by the master of mystery and the unexpected Uranus, which Mercury's in a trine in Taurus to. So again, maybe something innovative, unexpected, because it's a trine, it will be beneficial, but coming from the very earthly sign of Taurus. So, yeah, please do pop those into your viewfinder. Of course, see how these might be affecting your own natal charts.
And I like to point here the big planets, the outer planets like Uranus is still in Taurus and will be still for quite a few years. Neptune and Saturn in Pisces and will also be there for quite a few years. And Pluto entered Capricorn and will be there for quite a few years as well, about 15, 20 years. So just a reminder and a readjustment that the Western astrology will tell you these planets have entered other signs and we're not there yet. Doing that actually keeps us on a very skewed and kind of limiting space.
Yeah, and with this system also, you might notice that Chiron is no longer in Aries. It's actually in the sort of last few degrees of Pisces, which will give it a different emphasis rather than about the healing being more about the I am. It's more about the we are in Pisces. And perhaps if we think about everything that's going on the planet, many people are suggesting, and I think it's a valid point, that we cannot really achieve world peace and become galactic citizens until we have a unified collective consciousness field here on the planet. Whilst we have all this polarity and division, we're not necessarily fit to be let loose on the rest of the universe. We need to come to a place of maturity, I think. Yep. So really just giving some visuals here. This is from the stellarium, and you can see here, of course, Mercury being combusted by the sun. So this is again, we can see here that it's just happening in that point between Leo just before it moves into Virgo. So this is what we're saying, when you look at the stellariums or look up in the sky, it's really more of an accurate picture rather than this sort of 24-degree distortion that is also seeming to be mirrored somewhat in the Gregorian calendar. So, of course, it's all for your own personal determination. This is just the way that we're looking at it, and it's our offering really to start reshaping the reality that we're in.
Right, and we also want to talk about the eclipse season. We just had yesterday this big eclipse, the Blood Moon eclipse, which did feel like a switch, an energetic switch. It was kind of rough a little bit, at least that's the way I felt it. And we're coming into this September the 21st eclipse, which is a partial solar one. And it's going to happen in this Wavespell. And what it tells us is to think of new beginnings and new opportunities. Big life events or big life changes can be part of this process. The shifting of timelines is opening the door to that shifting of timeline and convergence that we're going to go into. It's a moment for truth and information to be revealed. The big changes happening here could be irreversible, meaning we're going forward. We're not going to keep on going backwards anymore. We're definitely going forwards. There could be a big figure, a male figure being eclipsed out during this process. And it will feel like a supercharged new moon. It's a moment to break karmic loops and for more spiritual growth. I feel like this is going to propel us to the deadline.
Right, and eclipses are very interesting for a number of reasons. And of course, the Mayans particularly tracked eclipses. And from what I've learnt about eclipses over the last sort of decade or so, they are really portals to other places through which almost anything can come. Perhaps that's why the Mayans were a little wary of them. You can have positive energy coming if you've called for it, and you can also have perhaps not so positive energy depending on your persuasion. And so that's why I'm feeling that this window between the two eclipses has this potentiality for a little bit of the challenge. And also, if we think about a lunar eclipse, this was a full lunar eclipse. the lunar energy is more yin, more inwards, more emotional, whereas the solar eclipses tend to be more of the yang energy that's getting eclipsed, more of the external show out of all of that. And just feeling into the energies from yesterday before the eclipse into today, it does feel as if something has been now hidden or obscured from us, perhaps in the emotional realm. Perhaps some of us were feeling there was going to be some sort of external display of what we put into the new moon intentions that happened around Regulus, but maybe that's going to get bumped to later in the year as Atlas passes Regulus. So this is the thing about eclipses, that especially with a full moon, when normally your intentions will come to illumination, an eclipse actually does exactly that. It eclipses it, so you don't get to see it play out, which can be a little frustrating sometimes. So, but with this partial solar eclipse, there is still going to be an element of the yang solar energy coming in, just not its full extent for the.
It can be eclipsed out. And
Yeah.
let's remember that the elites, the governments, the people at the top, the billionaires, they all know about the eclipses. They use it. They use sidereal astrology. They make their moves around these as well. They know the power that they hold. So it's for us to catch up and infuse our intentions and energy to what we want for the highest good of the planet and the collective. I think it is the time for many of us to, more and more of us, to wake up and to be able to put our energy, because this is a quantum field, and the more of us that do so, the more that it can happen.
Right, and because it's a partial solar eclipse, we do still have a sliver of that sun energy to set our intentions with, which will come to manifestation on the full moon. So, unlike a full solar eclipse where the sun is being totally blocked out and those intentions would get bumped down the road for 6 months, there is still some of that activating universal fire energy to work with.
Right, I just have another
Hmm.
visual here. This little white dot here is the moon. So the moon is going to is the one that
Nice.
kind of partially covers the sun for us. So that's when the eclipse happens. This is also on the eclipse on the 21st of September. We see here, do you see the moon getting really
Yeah.
close to the sun? We see Venus here so close to Regulus up in Leo constellation. We have a speaker here. Mars is getting really close to speaker, and Atlas is really, really close as well, almost catching up. So all of this section of the ecliptic where Virgo is and Leo is where most of the action is going to happen between now and then, and is where I want us to be paying attention. This is about bringing back the energy of the 13, of the sacred feminine, of bringing back the 13 signs and the 13 moons into the mix.
Yeah, so I actually also included a picture showing much the same thing here. This is the partial solar eclipse on the 21st, and the black dot here is the moon on the sun. So we can see that it's kind of like the hair tie in the beautiful goddess constellation here.
Look at the drawing of my 3i Atlas again.
It seems like it's picked up more of the dust cloud from the previous illustration.
I just haven't, when you go into Stellarium, it just shows you where it is, but it doesn't exactly show you because it's still too small. But at least you can see here the constellation. So I put here the Atlas, Mars is here, Spica, Mercury is going to be here for the eclipse. This is the eclipse going on. And see how Atlas is following the ecliptic line, which is absolutely amazing. It doesn't happen. Most of the comets just come and go and take erratic turns, but this one is not. It has a purpose of touching many of those planets and constellations.
Right, so just kind of more visual information for you if you want to take a screen grab of this to get yourself accustomed to this new moon and partial solar eclipse happening in Virgo from the true 13 sign sidereal perspective. Please feel free. So we can see here up at the top, we have the new moon energy of the sun and moon conjunct here in the first 5 degrees of Virgo, and Mercury's moved off a little bit. It's now at a 7 degree orb, but you could say that it's still having a lingering influence, just reminding us of the messages it's brought through so we can use them in our new moon intention setting exercise.
Let me just point out. So Atlas, if you wanted to put it here on the chart, it would be leaving Libra and going into Virgo. So it's around here. If you have anything in these early degrees of Libra and late degrees of Virgo, then anything that you have there would be getting activated around this time.
Right, and also just in the intervening period between the Mercury cazimi and the new moon, we can see here that Vesta, the sacred flame, the sort of dragon breath of fire for inspiration, has just moved into the alchemical transformation sign of Scorpio. So we can really work with that inner spark to transform our new moon intentions into something that can be alchemized. Again, working with the energy of the lunar moon of challenge and catalyzation. And also we can see here that the sun is coming into an opposition with both Neptune and Saturn, although I don't think it's quite exact on this day. So that is the chart for the new moon. And we've already talked about it quite a bit. So anything you want to say? And there, of course, is the chart. Again, you can see just the placements in the sky. Uh,
Right. And so I wanted to mention here that what is happening here on the 21st of September, it's actually quite important because it's activating this world. Do you see how the new moon is happening here and the eclipse? And Zavijava is really, really close to this, within the orbit, very close, almost exact. And Zavijava is a yin world. It's a world connected to the priestess energy, as you just mentioned. It brings light codes. It's about delivering the heavenly message. It's activating it for those of us that feel very connected to or having a soul of Pegasus. It's when they connect to that energy as human beings. So if you're feeling activated, if you feel very connected to the Pegasus, or you want to, you can do this through meditation because that's what this energy of Savijava offers to us, visions, and it probably trigger many of you to write, to teach, to connect to spiritual information through psychic channeling. So all of this is the higher nodes and the more stellar nations part of it, or the galactic connections to this activation through the eclipse.
mm,
It's interesting, huh?
it is, yeah. So, just for the last 5 minutes or so of today's show, just wanted to tap into the. We normally have a plant or a tree per Wavespell, but it's shifted things a little bit since we started the 13 moon journeys because we're also doing the 13 Celtic tree moon calendar. And we have now moved into the new moon on September the 2nd, runs to the 29th. So, it's not quite exactly the same as the Mayan 13 moon. And that's mainly because the Celts followed seasonal moons so that they could organize themselves for planting, sowing, and harvesting, and all of these things. So, just briefly, because I will be doing a live call presentation on this Celtic tree moon on the 17th of September. And if you want to catch that live, please go over to the QPW platform. If you're not a member already, sign up. It just takes really 10 seconds and it's free of charge. And send yourself over to either the Quantum Plant Alchemy group or the Flying School group, and you will see the link posted in there. But we'll also be putting it out in newsletters before then. But really, just briefly, because blackberries are out at the moment and they're super juicy and good for you. They are a superfood rich in beneficial vitamins, antioxidants, especially minerals and fibers. And you know, I love all of the sort of dark blue, black fruits that come from nature. They're really, really good for you. Blueberries are also amazing. And this moon can be interspersed with the vines, so grapes are also a part of this mix too. And mostly in Britain, it's celebrated with the blackberry, which is out at this time of year. Because of all of these wonderful beneficial ingredients it has, it's also actually anti-cancerous. With all of those antioxidants, and also helps the immune system, a bit like elderberry, really. It's really, really good for the immune system. Highly recommend getting in elderberries, blackberries, blueberries at this time of year before in the Northern Hemisphere, the winter starts to set in. It is also associated with protection due to its thorny nature. Anyone who's ever done any gardening and had to wrestle a bramble bush out of their garden will know all about that. And actually, that protection may be useful because the blackberry is steeped in folklore, which I'll go into more detail in the presentation. And its black color is often linked to the work of witches and the devil. And they shouldn't be eaten after Michaelmas, the 29th of September. I think that's more about the fact that the blackberries go over after the 29th of September, and you probably really shouldn't eat them. But I'm going to be exploring all of this and more. And I love the fact that this moon Bella finishes on Michaelmas, Archangel Michael or Michael's feast day. which is also an important day in our calendar, and for any of you out there who also work with the energy of Mikhail. So that's the moon that we're currently in. So definitely recommending to get out there and forage blackberries. And within the Celtic world, also, it is autumn equinox, the Libra equinox, if you're following the tropical astrology system. But really, this is Mabon, and it is one of the Celtic cross quarter fire festivals. But after Lammas, which happens on August the 1st, there's kind of this almost like second harvest just before nature goes back into the earth and the fall happens and the leaves turn brown. And that's because we get all of the berries that come out at this time of year, particularly blackberries, elderberries, even hawthorn berries. This is great medicine that we can use. Hawthorn is, again, really good for the heart, so that would work really well with this Wavespell of the dog. Definitely recommend taking some hawthorn essence or hawthorn tincture at this time of year to supplement the goodness that maybe your blackberry foraging has brought to you. And this is a time of balance, hence why it sort of recognizes the Libra equinox, a time of balance when light and dark are momentarily equal, really bringing into that clarity, the harmonizing qualities there. And it's named after a mythological Celtic deity, Mabon ap Modron, the divine son, who was stolen from his mother when he was just 3 days old and imprisoned. He is later freed by King Arthur and his men. And this really represents the descent and return, just like the period between the autumn and spring equinoxes, between light and dark, the descent into the darkness, and then the return with the sun on, of course, December the 25th, and the energy starts to shift again. And as I've already said, in Western tropical astrology, it's called the Libra equinox as the sun enters Libra on this day in that system. As we can see from the 13 sign system, it's a little different. So this is really more about the seasonal play out of what is happening for those of you who are plant lovers and like to go out foraging and spending time in the garden. It's a great time to collect the last of the medicine in the Northern Hemisphere before it returns to the Earth. So that really is the end of the presentation for today. We hope you found it useful. Anything else you wish to say, Bella, at the end of this?
No, just a reminder, this is the wave spell that is calling us to be in our heart, lots of forgiveness for ourselves, for others. Holding space maybe is going to be important with so many things going on and collapsing. And I see a lot of disruption in the next few days or maybe even weeks.
Yeah,
Necessary.
exactly. We're not in the realm of giving out doom and gloom predictions. We tend to be more practical than that and just really observing the energy patterns and their potential playouts coming towards us. And when you want to replace one collapsing system with something new and inspiring, hopefully there is some sort of process you have to go through. And uncomfortable and disturbing as it may look and feel at times, this is also a reflection of the inner work we're doing, because the outer world is a reflection of the collective inner world. So keep all of these things in mind. Remember the energy of the warrior, to question things, to be fearless, with the energy of the dog and the heart, with all of these actually really powerful but also potentially beneficial incoming astrological alignments. It's always nice to get out there and celebrate the equinoxes and the new moons. It's a really powerful double header, really, of intention setting. And by the time you get to that point towards the end of this wave spell, hopefully you will have learned a lot about the heart and how then to put that into your new moon intentions.
And expect big changes.
Yeah.
We do see big changes coming through, and it's about flowing with the change. We need to change many things that don't work for the planet, for humanity, for the medical system, the banking system. Even some of the technology has really actually destroyed many of the things for the planet and even for our health. So we want to bring new things through, things that will be beneficial for everybody and will take us to that point of becoming cosmic humans, galactic citizens.
Right. So, just keep it simple, keep it empty, and keep it real. All righty, everybody. That's it for this week. In Lakesh, I am another you. We'll see you all again very soon. Bye for now.